Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 59. I'm your host, Pam, and today we're going to be talking about vision fatigue and when your dream feels more like a job. Before we get started, I want to ask that whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, please leave us a review. We love all good reviews, especially the 5-star ones. So definitely, do that for us here. So just to kind of dive right in, have you ever felt like your big goals are more exhausting now, where maybe you're chasing a vision that it used to light you up and now it's just mundane? It feels like it's weighing you down. In this episode, we're going to talk about vision fatigue, what it is, why it happens, how to reset that without quitting on yourself, without feeling like you're draining everything out. I received a message recently from someone who felt like they were doing all of this work. They were in their respective fields. They were applying themselves. They were networking. They were trying to do all these things, and they still felt disconnected. They still felt overwhelmed. So, as always, I looked up the definition of vision fatigue, and as per Google, it's when your goals or your vision that were once motivating, that once lit you up and just gave you like a spark, they start to feel more like pressure, an obligation, or a performance. And some of these signs can be like maybe you've lost the emotional connection to your why. Maybe instead of actually going through self-improvement, you're performing self-improvement. You have resentment towards your habits or your routines that you used to love or that you put into place because they made you feel so good. Or maybe you're constantly, which is very common, so it's not something to feel bad about, but maybe you're constantly comparing yourself on social media. You're going through different phases of imposter syndrome. Your burnout is masked as discipline. So you're saying, no, I'm just not disciplined enough. And really, it's just more that you're burnt out. And there is this culture where it's kind of like, oh, you dream big, you go hard, but no one talks about when your dream becomes heavy. No one talks about how you need to shelter your vision, but also you need to keep it concise. So some of this happens, it happens because your vision is based on like what you should be doing and not what you want to be doing. So maybe you are creating your success pillars or your metrics per se. Maybe you kind of inherited them from someone else. Like you're measuring up to what you think they should look like or what it looked like for someone else instead of what it looks like for you. So you didn't create what those metrics are for you. You didn't create your pillars. You're just going off of what someone else did. Number two, it can happen because you're operating in a hyper planning mode. You're thinking too much, overthinking. You're not feeling enough. You're living in the future instead of the now. That can happen sometimes when you are ambitious. Number three, it's like a lack of pause. You're growing, and you're not stopping to reflect. You're not stopping to just bask in what it is that you've already accomplished, and it's causing this burnout. It's causing you to feel exhausted, to feel that fatigue. And number four, it happens because we have a fear of letting an old dream go. Maybe you started, and we see this time and time again when people go to like law school or medical school, or they achieve a certain level of education, and this vision that used to fit you no longer fits you. And we need to understand that that's not failing. You're not failing because you had a dream and now it just feels like it doesn't fit you anymore. It's really just that you're evolving in such a way that it's going to push you away from what you think it was that you wanted. And I think it's important to note here that there's nothing wrong with letting your dream evolve. A dream can start out by you saying, I want this specific shape to fit this one hole. And at some point you're shaping this hole for this shape, and then you realize, maybe I don't want this to be. Maybe I want this to be so much bigger than just this small section. So in reclaiming your vision, or letting it evolve, I should say, the first step you want to take is to check in with your desire. Check in consistently with your original vision and say, do I still want this? Or do I want this? Realigning with like feeling as if you're behind the original vision, or maybe this has changed. Step number 2, you have to give yourself permission to pivot. You have to give yourself permission to evolve. Just because you've had a dream for 10 years, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have the opportunity to change, or to it doesn't have to guide you in your current direction. Like, you could evolve from this. So you should be able to give yourself permission to pivot, to be able to take a step and move around different things. Step number 3, shift from an outcome obsession to a process presence. I didn't really understand this for a long time, where like, oh, don't worry about the results. And I'm like, how can you not worry about the results? Like, you need to receive results to know that that you're doing the right things, or that maybe you need to move things around. And it's not so much that you're absolutely not focusing on the outcome, but that you are focused on the joy and the daily process, not only reaching your goal. Step number 4, make space for stillness. This is something every ambitious person that I know experiences. They think that we are programmed so often to think that because we create stillness, or we take a moment to rest, or you stop, it means that it equals laziness, or that it means that you're not being productive. And this is just signs that you need to make intentional rest into your cycles. Rest is so important. It helps us create more clarity. It helps us bring out that clarity into our cycles. So it's very important to not define stillness as laziness, because that's not the same. And step number 5, you want to simplify your vision. This is something that I think a lot of different industries call it like an elevator pitch, or tell me who you are in 30 seconds, or like whatever industry that you're in. The bottom line is that you want to simplify your vision. You want to be able to explain it in one sentence. And maybe you might need 2 or 3 sentences, but the point is that if it's too complex, it could be too heavy. If you are not clear in what it is that your vision is, then this could be aligning you to feel fatigued, to feel overwhelmed by this vision. So I want to give you a couple of prompts, I should say, or maybe a couple of ways for you to kind of reset. And I want to preface this by saying that these are listed as questions. They're not listed as key points. And the reason that they're listed as questions is because these are things that you can ask yourself. They are things that can help guide you in overcoming that different fatigue about your vision, about your dream, to take out that part of it that feels like work. So number 1, what parts of my vision no longer feel alive? What parts of your vision are feeling like maybe they've lost their spark? Is it the entire thing? Is it some of the habits that you're doing? Is it maybe a habit that you no longer need to list as an individual? Maybe you need to habit stack. What part of that vision is no longer blooming? Number 2, what would you pursue if no one was watching? This one is so big, because again, no matter the age, anyone that I know that I've crossed paths with that is feeling stuck, or feeling like they are a little scattered, or they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or a lot of bit overwhelmed, I always like to ask the question, like, why? And a lot of it leads back to like, they care what other people see. And just to be clear, just because you care about what other people see, I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that. What I am saying is, because we all seek validation, what I am saying is, what would you pursue if no one was watching? What would you actually be doing if, I like to kind of twist it in a way of like, what would you be doing if money wasn't an object? Because a lot of the time we think that we need to make money up front to be able to pursue our dreams. And sometimes there is vision in such a small place and it will actually pay you tenfold. Number three, where are you performing growth instead of actually embodying it? Where are you acting as if things are growing, or where are you thinking that things are growing and maybe they're not? And I think this is important because you know the truth about yourself. As important as it is to have mentors, to have people in your corner, people in your very tight knit circle that will call you on your BS, or people that will let you know when you've messed up, or will let you know where you could head in a better direction. You know yourself better than anyone else. And you know when you're acting like something is happening, and you know when it's actually happening. Number four, what's one thing that I can pause or release this week? This one is a good one because maybe there's a certain habit that you need to stop doing in your daily routines and just come back to it. Maybe you need to give it a rest. Maybe it's exhausting for you to get up every day at 5 a.m. to do a 2-hour workout. Maybe it would be better if you just made a decision to do 30 minutes and you got a little bit more sleep for the next week or two. Nothing crazy, but for that 30 minutes, you go super hard. I think it's important to constantly monitor our habits and our routines because we live in a world where everything is seasonal. So whether that's winter, spring, summer, fall, you are constantly seeing a revolving door of change when it comes to the seasons. And it is no different when it comes to your vision, when it comes to your habits and your routines, that sometimes you need to take a pause, and you need to sometimes pause and sometimes let go completely. Number five, how can you bring joy or curiosity back into the process? This one is one of the funner, which I'm not even really sure funner is a word, but this is one of the more joyful things about having a vision, having a dream, having goals, is being able to assess and look at different things and say, you know what, I I think it's important to note that when you look at different when you look at your vision and you look at what brings you joy from it, it's almost as if you're reigniting that vision. So when you're feeling fatigued from it, when you're feeling like this feels more exhausting than it feels good, and you take a look at it and you say, well, how can I bring joy back to this? It could very well transform your vision entirely. It could also just reignite you and say, you know what? I think it's time for me to make this change. I think it's time for me to network in this ability. And if you're really feeling down about this, if you really can't find in these 5 things that I've listed, if you can't find your mojo in this, I want you to get around people who have done what it is that you want to do, or that have shared the same vision as you, or that once shared that vision, something like that. And the reason I want you to do that is because you're going to very quickly find that, number one, you're not alone in what it is that you're feeling. Number two, it's going to give you a different perspective. So when you talk to someone and they say, you know what, I struggled with that too, or yeah, I'm going through that right now. Or they may even say to you, I never went through that, but the reason I didn't go through that was because XYZ. And they give you a perspective where it'll help you envision bigger. It'll help bring you back that spark. It helps bring you back the joy. It helps bring you back the curiosity into the process of what it is that you're doing. I want to close down by saying that you're not broken if you're tired. I've said this a lot in the last few episodes, but I really mean it. There is so much happening in the world, and there has been for a long time, but I think we are just exponentially more aware now, and we are exponentially connected. And I want to say that if you're tired in your vision and in your pursuit, it's not because you're broken. It's not because you can see everyone else still going and you just feel like you need to take a stop. It's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're human. Vision fatigue isn't a sign that you've failed. It's a sign that it's time to reconnect. It's a sign that you need to take inventory of yourself to be able to start again, to realign yourself. I want you to, after you're done listening to this episode, I want you to take 10 minutes today to ask yourself, do I still want what I'm working toward? And I know that sounds like a heavy question, but I want you to ask yourself that question, set a timer, turn your devices off, or put them on like 1,000% of do not disturb, no favorites, nothing. And I want you to ask yourself, do I still want what I'm working toward? And in that time, I want you to journal about it, and I want you to let whatever comes to you be valid. Let it just be. And the reason I want you to do that is because in that 10 minutes that you take for that quiet, you're going to find that your brain is going to give you so many answers and so many feelings, and it's going to let you verbalize what it is that's causing this fatigue. And it's just going to be so enlightening for you. Thank you for listening. Come back again next week for another episode of You the Boss podcast, where we will be talking about rebuilding alignment after burnout.